Shar, are you online?
Oh, I'm
I
so
think you're mute. It's
oh,
okay. It
yeah,
happens, yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Let me
Yeah.
start again. Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. We are coming to you live, brought to you by the Philippine Scale, your best phone in Norway, or the Filipino Helping Society in Norway, or FHS.
Okay, tulungan sa pangalawang tahanan.
Eh,
That's in Filipino, okay.
yes, thank you, Amo. And FHS was founded in 2013 by Sally Ria Malayan, initially focusing on assisting people in need during natural calamities. Over time, the group expanded its membership, allowing the team to reach even more people who need support. It is part of our information sharing campaign to help immigrants integrate into Norwegian society, and we also do through this DigiSeminar. And today's topic is about applying for permanent resident in Norway. And it is important to note that FHS is an independent, non-governmental organization that helps with information drives to benefit the migrant groups in Norway. We are not in any way affiliated with local government agencies such as Udenin Directorate, NAV, Arbeids sorry, Arbeids
Tilson.
Tilsynet, and IMDI and others alike. Today's presentation is based on our research from resources made available by the local immigration authorities, and we cannot help in individual cases and have no experience beyond the information shared today. My name is Shah, and I'm a volunteer at FHS and team leader of Multicultural Links and the Team Newbie in Norway, and one of the core teams of FHS. I'm hosting this GD seminar alongside Amor, also a co-volunteer at FHS. There you go, Amor.
That's right. Hi, Shar. Good morning, Shar, and good morning to all our viewers. Yeah, with its beautiful nature and progressive leadership, Norway attracts many people globally to relocate here and eventually settle for good. So, we hope to help you with your plans today with the information we are to share about securing a permanent residence permit. As this is a broad topic, it covers all nationalities in unique situations. We'll just focus on the guideline for adults 18 years old and above from non-EU or EEA countries. It's also a relevant age bracket for most of our followers and viewers there. So, what we hope to achieve by the end of this seminar is to provide you with the list of benefits of holding a permanent residence and then the requirements to be eligible applicants, the guidelines to process the new application for permanent residence, and then we'll give you some examples too of exemptions and special cases, and then a run through of the overview of the document checklist and the steps to navigate the application portal. Again, I am Amor, co-hosting this DG seminar with Shar. So now let's dive deep into what it takes to establish permanent roots in this beautiful Nordic nation. All right, so we'll touch on first what is permanent residence permit in Norway and what are its benefits. So it is formally known as a settlement permit, and this is the last step before acquiring Norwegian citizenship. A permanent residence permit gives individuals the right to live, to work, and study in Norway indefinitely. And then it also gives you assurance that your residency won't expire. So you just need to simply renew your permit periodically. And then a sense of stability. It gives you sense of stability and security because of its extra protection against expulsion. And then you have the freedom to change your job industry and or designation without having to reapply for work permit. And then you can work for more than one job, including home-based jobs. Or if you own a business, you may just continue without stressing so much about work permit renewals. And then, of course, you still have the privilege to travel in and out of Norway and be able to stay. But this time you can stay outside the country when and how much you want. But take note though that you have to apply to keep your PR permit if you plan to stay outside Norway for more than 2 years. So yeah, we'll go on to the application guideline. UDI is the Norwegian Directorate of Immigration. So this is, as with all the things related to immigration, this is where you must only go to file your application, where the application process is very well outlined with all the requirements in detail, and they also have a list of documents to submit. And what documents are on that checklist will depend on your own circumstances. So please pay close attention to the list you receive. Once you confirm you are eligible and completed the documents, you can go ahead and pay the fees. So next up is paying the fees. So the payment is also done on that page. Uh, Take note that refunding fees is only based on a justifiable situation like a wrong form was used. So you have to be very careful. The fee cannot be refunded for any application you have submitted in person already. So payment fees are 4,000 kroner for adults and fee for free. It's free for children under 18 years old. You can only pay using your MasterCard or Visa and enclose the original receipt with your application. If you cannot pay or apply electronically, you must pay the fee at the latest when you hand in the documents or your application to the police. And the next step is to finally make the appointment with your local police station without delay. Make sure that you don't delay because usually the schedule gets filled out fast. So you must attend your appointment with the police and hand in your documents no later than 1 month before your residence permit expires. Only then. So remember that handing in the documents is no later than 1 month, but the application online should be done 3 months before the expiration of the card. So only then is your application submitted when you hand in your documents. Okay. And after this, the approximate waiting time is given, and you will be updated through mail or email I'm sorry, of the updates and decision. The waiting time varies from 1 month as long as 1 year or more. So you remember that each case is unique. So you don't compare yourself with another case. So why am I waiting this longer? Why did she get this faster? If you have any questions, you have to check with UDI all the time. So yeah, there you go. The waiting time varies. Again, the waiting time varies from 1 month to as long as 1 year or more, but depends highly on the schedule and sorting at the office, accuracy and completeness of your documents, and sometimes impacted by political situations such as the recent influx of Ukraine nationals. Remember that each case is unique, and so you must refer only to UDI if you have clarifications with your application. Again, I'd like to summarize everything that I've tackled. First one is log into udi.no with your own credentials and then check your eligibility and other requirements. That's the very first thing that you have to do, even like you're doing the pre-planning. And then print the document list and produce each with accuracy. Remember that adding documents that you think can support your application, but not on the list, poses no problem. So that's okay. Go ahead, just attach it. Pay the fees online, and you will get an invoice sent to your email. And then book an appointment online with the local police or SUA, or what they call Service Center for Utenlandske Arbeidstakere. And then attend the appointment and hand in the documents, and then wait for the decision. So yeah, there you go. The whole application process depends on how fast you can soon fulfill the eligibility and complete the requirements. So this is the pre-planning. Remember that UDI is strict on the date of putting in your application, as I mentioned, which means paying it and booking an appointment. You have to apply 3 months before you meet the requirement for residence time or your residence permit expires, and no earlier than that for both adults and children over 1 year old. So if you apply in time, you can work and stay in Norway on the same grounds as before until you receive an answer to the application. This applies even if your residence permit expires while you wait. So don't procrastinate. And then if your application for a permanent residence permit is rejected, the UDI or the police will renew your residence permit only if you still fulfill the requirements. And then some others that you have to take note: if your previous residence permit expires before you get a new permit, refers to permanent or renewed residence permit, you may have trouble traveling in and out of Norway. So don't dare do that. Without a valid residence card, you can be stopped by border control in other countries. Another important thing to note is that one, must ensure they abide by the law, as grave misconduct resulting in fines or imprisonment may cause you to wait longer for PR approval, which Shar will tackle later. And this is also in UDI website. If they have specified which case, how long for each case that you have to wait for the approval. Yeah, so we've just finished the overview of the step-by-step process. If you see, the rules may seem complex and depend on many things, but the basics are your country of residence, income or financial sufficiency for the last 12 months, and the length of time you have lived in Norway, which is generally like 3 years or longer to 5 years in certain circumstances, which Shar will break down the eligibility and these requirements for us on the next slides. Shar, take it away.
Thank you, Amor, for the very informative session. And now I would like to talk about who is eligible to apply for permanent resident in Norway. So the eligibility criteria vary depending on individual circumstances. It's essential to understand your specific situation and how it may impact your eligibility. Normally, your first step is to secure the temporary resident to relocate here in Norway if you are from countries outside of the EU or EEA. And of course, through available pathways such as labor immigrants, that is, a person who has the concrete job offer or who is self-employed, and a person with close family ties to somebody residing in Norway, refugees, or protection, and persons who qualify for the resident permit on humanitarian grounds. The years you have stayed in Norway on this permit could count toward permanent resident. You also you can also be issued a temporary resident permit if students, trainees, au pairs, fiancé, and participant in an exchange program, but this does not count towards permanent residency. So you have to be aware of that. The resident permit, if you have at the time you apply for permanent resident, determines whether you must have resided in Norway for 3 or 5 years. So 3 years of residence is required for those with work immigration, family immigration with a Norwegian or Nordic citizen, family immigration with other foreign citizens who reside residence is unrelated to protection or strong humanitarian considerations. And those for 5 years of residence that is required for those who have resident after applying for protection or have protection asylum because they are a family member of a refugee, derived protection or asylum, or they came to Norway as resettlement refugees, or they have resident due to strong humanitarian considerations, or they have family immigration with a person in any of the groups above, just what I have talked now, or have family immigration with a person in any of the groups above who has later been granted a permanent resident permit. So those are the differences. And other conditions that applicants must meet are like you must not have been without a resident permit for more than 3 months in total during the past 3 to 5 years, 3 or 5 years, or depends on which category you fit in. And you also cannot have stayed outside of Norway for a total of more than 7 months during the past 3 years, or more than a total of 10 months for 5 year residency. For a skilled worker, they may stay outside Norway for up to 15 months, but only provided that you can document that at least 8 months of those days are due to work related travel on assignment for your employer. So, and I would like to talk a little bit more about financial capacity as well. So, financial stability is a crucial aspect for the application process. Applicants between 18 and 67 years old, they must demonstrate that they can support themselves and their family financially for the past 12 months without relying on financial assistance from the Norwegian government or NAV, which it's also called economics sociology. So this requirement ensures that individual can sustain themselves independently in Norwegian society, contributing to their integration and long-term success. So this type of the type of income approved are usually like employment own business income, rental income, pensions, and insurance settlements, and some benefits like sickness, pregnancy, parental unemployment, work assessment allowance, single parents benefits, loans or grants received in connection with studies, introduction benefits. So you must provide evidence of your income, such as bank statements, tax returns, or employment contracts, and must prove that you have not received financial assistance from NAV uh, during the past 12 months. So as of today, UDI require at least an OK 296,550 in total from one or combined types of income during the last 12 months before you hand in the application at the police. If you met the income requirement for the last 12 months at the time you submitted your application, it will not matter if your income changes afterwards, if every requirement were met at the time of the application. So it's just a very important point. And of course, integration into Norwegian society goes beyond physical presence. It also involves linguistic and social assimilation. As part of the application process, individuals are required to complete mandatory Norwegian language and social studies courses. So these courses help applicants understand Norwegian culture, societal norms, and values, facilitating their integration into the community. So, in addition to language proficiency, you must also demonstrate social integration into the Norwegian society. So, this involves understanding Norwegian culture and societal norms and values. You may also require to pass a social studies test to demonstrate your knowledge of Norwegian society. This test typically covers topics such as like Norwegian history, politics, and social welfare system. And both the language and social studies requirements applied if you are between the ages of 16 to 67. So if you're in between the ages, so it applies. But the exact requirements and number of hours may vary depending on your circumstances, such as whether you are applying as a skilled worker or a family immigrant or a refugee. So it will be different based on your status as well. So the date you were granted your first resident permit that forms the basic for a PR also matters. So generally, you must document 250 hours of Norwegian language hours and 50 hours of social studies at a minimum, from an approved institution. And if you have received a final assessment grade from in Norwegian at upper secondary school, you do not need to take a separate course in Norwegian and social studies, but you must apply to the municipality for an exemption of this requirement. And you cannot also have been convicted of a criminal offense or been ordered to undergo enforced psychiatric treatment or care, as this will prolong your waiting time from 6 months up to 33 years, depending on the gravity of the offense. And you do have to wait longer to be granted a permanent resident permit if you have been issued fines and penalty notices less than 2 years ago, have been sentenced to imprisonment, have been convicted or issued penalty notices several times, have been ordered to undergo enforced psychiatric treatment, or are under investigation by the police, or have been charged in a case that has not been decided yet. So, as Amol has mentioned earlier, you must ensure that you abide by the law, not only in Norway, but wherever you have resided before coming to Norway, as this will impact your application. If you are under
Mhm.
investigation or have previous convictions in Norway or abroad, you must fill out and submit the form. It's called Notification of Criminal Offences, that's available publicly. And of course, while there are standard requirements for permanent resident, exemption may also apply in certain circumstances, right? So additionally, individuals facing unique challenges or situations may seek special considerations. For example, like Norwegian citizen spouses and cohabitants who are employed by a Norwegian embassy are exempt from the 3 years residency and language tuition. And those who don't meet the 3 years residency can still be granted PR if they have held any of the resident permit discussed earlier. Plus, they have stayed in Norway for 8 to 10 years holding resident permits. They have lived for a long time or Svalbard, or they are there are particularly strong grounds for reasonableness. So yeah, as a said, please attach any documents you have, when applying. So that will also help. And
Mhm.
of course, individuals with disabilities or health conditions may be exempted from completing their language and integration courses as well. And similarly, those who have experienced like trauma or hardship may require special consideration. Take note, though, that special cases such as health conditions, it's essential to provide documentation, right, and evidence to support your um, uh, application and explain your circumstances to the UDI. Now we are done with eligibility requirements, and now we move on to another equally important part, the documentation checklist. Amol, can you help us with that documentation checklist, please?
Of course, yes, you're right. This is as equally important as the application process itself, because lacking any of these documents will surely you'll surely get rejection from UDI. Yeah, okay.
Totally.
So after that extensive list you've given, thank you, Shar. Now let's talk about the paperwork. It's as I've mentioned, it's crucial to ensure that all required documents are in order and submitted accurately to avoid delays or complications in the application process. To apply for permanent residence in Norway, you will need to submit various documents to the Norwegian Directorate of Immigration, but this is not as like long list as the first time that you have applied for your first time permit. Bring all the original documents, remember that, to present to the police along with their photocopies. So granting that you meet all the criteria, these documents must be submitted. So we will flash it on the screen, so I'll read it through. So you have to have, of course, the signed application form from the portal, and then you have to have your copy and the passport and the copy of it with all the used pages or other travel documents that you have held for the last 3 years. Okay, and then the list of time spent outside Norway. Okay, so you have to document, or you have to list down, like if you traveled to Spain just for 1 week, or even like just for a day, you stepped outside, you went to Sweden and got some, like pick up some groceries. So you also have to list it down. And then UDI's checklist, and then filled out and signed. So this checklist that we're going to show you. And then proof of financial sufficiency. So that's all your income requirements. So make sure if you're employed, make sure that you get your monthly salary report or the pay slip. Okay. And then by the end of the year, you also get this Orsop Gave. So per year, so to show how much. But anyways, UDI also has an access to that. But it's, as I've mentioned earlier, it's always nice to, attach all documents that you can, if you think that they support your application. And then documentation of language tuition, and if you took the test, right? And then another documentation is the social studies, so the tuition, and if you took the test as well. Take note that there might be additional documents to submit. It depends on your permit and other special circumstances. So as I've said, every case is unique, so UDI might call you to, like submit additional papers. So it is important to check that UDI website, the UDI website regularly, because they update it um, regularly as possible. So for any updates, you have to go there and no other websites. And as of today, the most recent ones are below. Okay, so we'll show you some of the requirements. Okay, a rule was introduced in 2020 for refugees, or as resettlement refugees, or as a family member of someone with these permits, extending their residence requirement to 5 years. So if it was 3 years, now it's already 5 years. You have to wait. Then language and social studies tuition requirements for permanent resident applicants have recently undergone changes, impacting individuals who received their first residence permit after January 1, 2021. So I think there was a change there that uh, 250 to 275 or 225 to 250 hours. It's just about the hours that you have to take. And then the Norwegian government updates their immigration rules regularly. So almost yearly, if we may say so, I think every May, to emphasize the importance of adaptability and responsiveness to evolving standards of living. So that's their goal. So it's not just because they want to, like to put burden on our shoulders, but this is how the government, works here. And then yeah, I think we're on also already concluding this DG seminar. But before we do that, we recommend that you visit the following website for up-to-date information. Yeah, so we'll flash it on the screen in a bit. So you'll see there, you have to go to selfservice.udi.no. So it's the application portal. And then ensure your account is active. And then to check your eligibility according to your nationality, age, and current permit. So there you go. It's on the screen. The second one, it's when you want to apply for permanent residence. So if you're already like maybe on your second year, you can already start checking. Like just don't procrastinate. Actually, once you come to Norway, it's advisable that you communicate with your commune already, and then check what your rights are, especially to tuition fees on social studies and language courses. Yeah, so check, depends on the type of your first permit. You may be, granted free tuition. So yeah, and for the third one, the Politiet is where you check your waiting time. So when you go to UDI, you go to UDI website, you will click a link there, and it directs you to the Politiet for the waiting times. So again, it varies. So you once you hand in your applications, after that you'll be given your waiting times. But it can change actually, based on my own experience. Actually, at first you can be given like 4 6 months, but after that, I think mine was changed to like 2 months. So I just had to wait for the approval. But that's my first permit, yeah. So yeah, and the fourth is the processing times. It's the UNE dot no. It's where you see the processing times, especially if you're applied for appeal because you've been rejected. All right. So yeah, Shar, anything that you'd like to add?
Thank you so much, Amor. I think we are coming to a conclusion, and yeah, but I'm checking the comments, and I found one
Yeah, there
comment
are.
quite a question from the comments from Tia Lorraine. So she wants to know what level uh, in the Norwegian language will you be able to apply for PR as prerequisite? And yeah, throughout our research, we found that there are two ways, right? One is fulfilling the hours that is required for the language from the approved institutions. And then if you are taking like a test, then it's I just you know check UDI just now. So I hope it's updated information.
It is,
However,
yeah.
again, disclaimer, it might change. So please, it's very very important for you to check
Because
it.
we might say we're our answers are based on UDI today, but UDI might
Yes.
change it on Monday,
Yes,
so you have to
yes.
check it
So
still.
it's very important to very actively check
Yeah,
whatever you are going to do. And right now it's a Norwegian exam at level A2 or higher, so it is yeah needed to apply for PR.
yeah.
Otherwise, you can also get exemption by having like a number of hours of language training. So yeah,
That's
so
right.
that's
It's A2. Again, it's A2 level. A2
at
level.
least. Mm,
Yeah. So it's either 225 hours or 250 hours for
yes.
the language course. Depends on your
Mm-hmm.
first type of permit. And then if for the social studies, either 50 hours or 75 hours.
Hours.
Depends on when you came to Norway. So you have to
Yeah.
check the UDI website. Yes.
Yes, totally. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for the questions. And yeah, so we concluding, and yeah, as we conclude our guide to applying for permanent resident in Norway, we want to emphasize the significance of this milestone. It's not just about paperwork and procedures, it's also about building a future in a country
Mhm.
that values diversity, inclusivity, and opportunity. Um, whether you are a newcomer or a long-term resident, embarking on this journey requires determination, perseverance, and a willingness to embrace change. And we wish you all the best of luck on your path to permanent residency in Norway.
Are you included in that zine? Are you
Yeah.
hoping to do you plan to stay in Norway for long
No,
term or make
yes,
this your second
totally.
home?
Yes,
Ah, me
of course,
too.
of course. I love the country, and I've been here as a student. Now I've been here working, so I really want to get to know more, and it's also my long-term plan. I also learned a lot from this seminar myself, so it's
Yeah, me
really a
too.
great
Take
time.
note that
Yeah.
you're on student visa, so student visas don't count, doesn't count towards that.
No,
So
no, it wasn't. Yes.
so
That's great.
yeah, I imagine you're pre-planning now. And speaking of
Yes.
pre-planning, actually, yeah, this is pre-planning is as equally important as the actual application. Because
Mm,
when you get to the actual application, you read the requirements,
yeah.
you would realize that okay, why did I
Mm,
procrastinate? Because
yes.
there are requirements that need time to produce, like your language and social studies. So right from
Mm,
the very start, you come to Norway, you communicate with your commune and ask, your, as I've said earlier, you ask the rights to free education if you have, because it depends on the type of your first time permit.
mm,
Also the income requirement, it needs time to accumulate the required amount and make sure they keep, and also, if I may add, you have to keep yourself healthy and in good
mm,
living condition overall, because support grants from the government is not included in these income requirements to make sure that
yes.
you're in good living condition. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what we can share for now. So don't procrastinate. Check your if you're planning to move to Norway permanently, check UDI website right away. So okay, so you can pre-plan. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you for joining us on this journey. That was fast through
Yeah.
the process of applying for permanent residence in Norway. So we hope that this guide has provided you with the valuable insights and information to help you navigate this important milestone in your life. So remember, while the process may seem daunting at times, with careful planning, as we've always mentioned, preparation and perseverance, you can successfully achieve permanent we can all successfully achieve permanent residency in Norway. So we wish you all the best on your journey ahead. But before we finally end, we would like to invite you also to visit FHS website. So that's www.fhsnorge.org, or our Facebook page at Det Filipinska Help Samfund i Norge, if you want to know more about us and our activities. Yeah, thank you and have a great weekend. Thank
Have
you,
a
Shar.
great weekend. Thank you,
Yeah,
Amo.
thank you.